All right, so it's finally time to make this video. Sunday night, the Vikings game is over. I just finished watching the Bills and the Raiders, which was a pretty good game. And the Vikings have broken into the win column. We are 1-3. How about that? So this was a game that people scripted as the Tank Bowl, the 0-3 versus 0-3 for most of the week heading into it. And I had some doubts. I picked against my own team in the Pick'em video this week in the league, and glad to be wrong. Absolutely glad to be wrong. It feels a lot better to be 1-3 after a horrendous first month of the season, and than it does to be 0-4. And I think that fans of teams that haven't won a game yet are probably wishing that they at least had one under their belt, even if they realized or sort of knew that they weren't going to be going anywhere past the 17th week of the season. So, but yeah, it feels good to get the win. It was a really great day for the offense. All of the skill players really clicked. Justin Jefferson has another great game. Adam Thielen has a great game. Dalvin Cook has another, dominating performance. And the defense doesn't play bad. Now, in the first half, they pretty much had Deshaun Watson and company in check, but the Texans made some halftime adjustments that allowed them to creep back into the game. And of course, they had to make it damn interesting near the end there with that touchdown that Will Fuller almost had. Of course, the 2-point attempt still would have had to have been made, and then we would have been probably looking at overtime. But thankfully, thankfully, it was ruled not a catch. Thankfully. So I'm wondering if it's like the Cam Dantzler effect. This is his first game back in a number of weeks, and the secondary actually played pretty good. The penalty that caused Harrison Smith to get ejected was bullshit. The targeting rule, I understand the need for it, and yes, it is necessary in order to protect players, but they have done an insufferably bad job of being consistent with calling it, and not even in the professional level or in the college level as well. We saw two targeting ejections last night in the Georgia Auburn game, which I thought were questionable at best. And then the one against Harrison Smith, like Mike Zimmer said in the post-game press conference, if you want to throw a penalty on that, by all means, throw a penalty. We can argue about penalties all day, but there's no need to kick him out of the game for that. It was just absurd. So, but luckily we got good play out of the backup. Who was actually scheduled to be the nickel backup and not even a safety backup, but it ended up working out. And we just had a great day overall. Kirk Cousins looks like he's growing some confidence into throwing to Justin Jefferson, so that'll open up the offense and help Adam Thielen breathe a little bit. And yeah, this looks like what it should have looked like in the first week against the Packers. So it just took a month too long to get here. So going forward, what does this mean? What does this mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, we've dug ourselves into a hole where the math doesn't favor us and history doesn't favor us. So playoffs, there's still a possibility. I think it's like 16%, but a lot of things are going to have to go right, and we still have a very tough schedule coming up, and that's sort of where I want to segue into this next little portion of this video. Is that we need to keep expectations in check, because this is a bad Houston Texans team, and Bill O'Brien is not doing well. The fact that he took over play calling duties in the third week seemed a little sus, because you sort of just leave your offensive coordinator hang out to dry in the first 3 weeks against the top three teams in the AFC, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers, and then you're like, oh, the 0-3 Vikings are coming to town. I'll take over play calling duties, no big deal. And then Courtney Cronin, who from ESPN, said it perfectly. When you have a guy that is doing three jobs, head coach, general manager, and play caller, that's the warning siren going off that this person isn't exactly good at all those jobs. People don't do all those jobs because they're really good at them. They do them because they have an ego. And Bill O'Brien definitely checks the boxes for somebody who has an ego that just needs to be pampered 24/7. So he's calling way too many shots, and the workload on his plate is just way too big. That's why you bring guys in on your coaching staff, because you trust them. Like, a good example would be the Dallas Cowboys right now, who have just lost another tough game because they gave up 49 points to the Browns. But Mike McCarthy is not going to fire Mike Nolan from that defensive coordinator position, because he brought him in. He's going to vouch for that guy. He's going to trust him. So they're not going to make a coaching change at that spot right now. But anyway, I have to sneeze. Okay, it's gone. I'm not going to edit that out. I'll just leave that in there because that's funny. Everybody's going to be like, what happened to him? Did you just have a stroke? But anyway, sort of getting back to the keeping expectations in check point that I wanted to make was this is a bad Texans team. The fact that their defense is porous and their offense hasn't been good in the first month of the season, and the fact that we were able to steamroll them on offense and play decent enough defense to keep them down long enough where the comeback fell short. We shouldn't be walking away from this win with expectations that we didn't have yesterday. And that is because, we faced a difficult schedule. Like if we're able to do this against Seattle or we're able to do this against Green Bay, then we can start talking about, things getting better. But at the same time, the reality of the situation is we just beat a team that is 0-3. And everybody thought, well, they just had a really difficult schedule. That's the reason they're 0-3. I think the reason is because they're actually a pretty bad football team. So that is my take on the win against the Houston Texans, but I'm finally glad to get into the win column. We just have to see now if this is something that is real and does it translate to the next week. Are we going to be able to do this against Seattle when we go play there next week? Can we do this against Green Bay? Can we do this against teams that are actually going places instead of the Texans who are just competing for a draft pick that they don't have because they traded them to Miami? So that's it. Great win by the Vikings. Very happy to get in the win column. The reason that it happened is because I busted out the Chester Taylor jersey the other day. This is an old 29 from long ago. That's about as far as I can turn. This is not an Xavier Rhodes jersey. This is old Chester Taylor from like 2007-ish. But that's the reason they won today, because I broke this out. So every Sunday this has to be worn until it changes. So videos tomorrow, we'll do the week 2 recap, and we'll also do either an Adam Gase video that I want to do, or we'll do an updated hot seat rankings, which I haven't done in a while. I think I haven't done one since the preseason. And also on tap is going to be an updated panic index, because we haven't done one of those in 2 weeks. So lots to go through this week. It should be an exciting week. So subscribe if you haven't. Welcome aboard.